Jacob, it's so great to have you back on the World Tour of Meditation, and thanks for coming on today to do these In These Times add-on to what's going on right now.
Thank you for inviting me. We're in a critical place, a place we've never been before. In fact, no one alive has ever been to this place before. No one alive on the planet has ever been to this place, and maybe if they were here, they didn't remember it, because maybe they were a year or two old in 1918 when something like this occurred, when the Spanish flu epidemic came worldwide. So we've never experienced this before. And what we know about living creatures, whether they're ants, elephants, dinosaurs, or human beings, whenever we encounter something that we've never encountered before, regardless of the type of creature it is, it stops in its tracks and it experiences what we call worry. It experiences our version of worry, or however it occurs in that species, and it also experiences trepidation. Doesn't know what this is. So trepidation is a natural occurrence in these times. Hypervigilance, it's a natural occurrence in these times. So it's interesting for each of us to see what naturally comes up and what the world is telling us we should feel or not feel or whatever. And I've been reflecting on this in that during the night, sometimes things will just awaken me, or sitting in my hot tub, and it's sort of like, whoa. And what came this morning is an ancient Chinese proverb that you've heard before that says that crisis leads to opportunity. Now, of course, when you hear that, you say, oh, that's just an interesting idea. But you're a physicist, and my majors were biology and chemistry. And whether you're looking at biological structures, behavior, in chemical reactions, behaviors at subatomic levels of things, you notice the same exact thing. Prior to expansion, or expansion is always preceded by perturbance. There's an agitation that disturbs the status quo. And that agitation is the spark or catalyst for the process of evolution. So without the agitation, it doesn't expand. And this is not a difficult thing for us to understand, in that it occurs in our life every day. I remember when I was very young, if you had a piece of jewelry and it had gotten a little dirty and you wanted to have it clean, you take it to the jeweler and they would put it in a little, like a little box with some fluid in it. It was called an ultrasonic cleaner. They'd turn it on and this thing would start vibrating, and it would literally shake loose anything that shouldn't be there. And when the ring came out, it was gorgeous. It was like brand new.
Yeah, they did that with my glasses.
Right. And that's what happens when something shakes loose in us. Everything that we consciously or unconsciously are holding, it shakes it loose. And a good example of it is when we want to wash our clothes. You put your laundry in the washing machine, you fill it up with water, you put in the detergent, Is that what's required to get the clothes clean? No. That just sets up the conditions. What gets the clothes clean is agitation. You must agitate it. You shake it up so that it can't, so that it is overwhelmed and out of control. So that's where we find ourselves right now, in the most extreme way that any living being on the planet has ever experienced it. We have never experienced anything like this. We've experienced very difficult things. People speak about what went on in Europe during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
But if you weren't there, you just heard about it. It just wasn't the same thing. And some people were so far away, they never heard about it except in history lesson years later. This is a different thing. This is going on everywhere. What does that mean? It means that all living beings are having a direct experience. A direct experience is the key to our awakening. And that is what's occurring everywhere. So on one hand, we have a lot of trepidation, a lot of uneasiness, a lot of a lot of every chakra, actually. I was going to say the first and second chakra because it's shaking up the whole idea of, am I going to make it? What if I get sick? Will I survive? Because the latest figures are saying that it's no longer that the 70s and above are having worse than the younger ones. It's happening all over. So it brings up the fear of, am I going to make it? And then if it doesn't just bring it up in terms of the pathology of this virus, then there's the pathology of economics.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to make enough to survive? Will I be able to eat? And so that really shakes up our first chakra. And then, of course, our second.
The pathology of economics, because I've heard a lot of people talk about the pandemic of fear.
Yeah.
The pathology of economics, it sort of makes it very, very tangible.
Right. And the pathology of economics in this case is really contagious. It's not just going on for the people that have very little. It's probably going on to a much bigger level to the people that have very much. Because the people that have very little have become masterful at walking a tightrope. The people that have very much have probably never been on a tightrope. So it's an interesting thing that's going on for everyone across the economic scale. And then, chakra 2 is about relationships. Look what's happening. We're being asked to be on our own. Some people can't stand it, so they just have to be in crowds. So it's touching a lot within all of us. But let's talk about some interesting and positive things that are happening as well.
I also really have a question for you, now or later.
Yeah, you can do it anytime you want.
I love what you said about direct experience, and how if you don't have a direct experience, knowing how to respond is a lot harder in the beginning.
Right.
And I noticed that right away, because as soon as I heard about this in the beginning of March, I locked myself up at home because I grew up in Singapore when SARS was happening. And so I was like, okay. And then I saw the world respond so slowly. And when you said that just now, it clicked for me, oh, direct experience of something like that.
Yeah, right.
And on that note of direct experience, how does, well, maybe, can you talk a little bit about this experience of being shaken up? Because how does someone let themselves be shaken up? And maybe it's not a matter of letting or allowing, but how does that dovetail with someone's experience that might be feeling paralyzed in fear. And you think
Yeah.
paralysis is very different from being shaken.
Yeah. Most people unconsciously, their system does whatever they can to avoid being shaken up.
Yeah.
Some people get on a roller coaster, jump off of a bridge with a bungee cord, or jump out of a plane to be in a state where they can't possibly control it, to see what happens. But those are interesting tricks, but it doesn't have the same effect as when it really happens and you're not planning it. See, you're planning to jump out of the plane or off the bridge or whatever it is. Nobody planned this. So the shakiness that's happening now, there's nothing we can do about it. In fact, there's really nothing we can do about anything. But this is a real exaggeration of it. And then you mentioned the other extreme, paralysis.
Yeah. Feeling frozen.
We get frozen. But regardless of the state that you're in, your system is a homeodynamic process. We often hear the word homeostasis, but that doesn't exist. That word is a concept. Homeodynamic is what exists. It's a continual movement toward equilibrium, but it never actually gets to it, because as soon as it gets to it, it's off it. And so our system is continually adjusting and readjusting. That's why we say the only constant is change. That is what allows us to remain in a reasonable state of health and wellness, is our ability to live in a state of yoga. Not only physical yoga, but in a state of mental and neurological yoga. And for instance, to personalize it, I never had a food that I didn't like. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I can't stand that. I've never had that. And so for me, the eating experience, it doesn't push me or pull me. It just takes me wherever I go, and it's very pleasurable. But each of us has a slightly different nature or design. So we're all impacted differently, where one may just feel some trepidation, but be able to flow with it more. Someone else may go to paralysis. As I have often said, the mystic swims in the same ocean the schizophrenic drowns in. So it depends on our own nature. But I've noticed some very interesting things. The world has never been quieter.
I've never heard the birds louder before.
Right. In my hot tub, the birds are singing like they have never sung before. There's a quiescence that you hope to achieve in a deep state of meditation, except it's being gifted to us free of charge right now. There's a level of being on vacation that none of us have ever experienced. Do you realize we don't have any schedules? we don't have to put the alarm clock on. We don't have to be somewhere at a certain time. And so what's happening is the normal compensations, the things that the adaptations culturally that all of us have made to be seen as normal, are beginning to slip away. And what is reemerging is this state that few of us touch upon that's called natural. And so we awaken in the morning without something waking us up. And all of a sudden you begin to realize, what's natural for me? Am I an 8-hour sleeper, a 7-hour sleeper, a 10-hour sleeper? What does my body need? Because all of us attempt to fit ourselves into the norm, which is maybe okay for a small percentage, but we're all over the place. So I'm getting a chance to experience a vacation from everyday life. Incredibly, incredibly powerful. I don't think I've ever had one. So, whoa. And then, you know, everyone's trying to get to this state. This is why you're having this event about meditation. Life is giving this to us right now. It's in some way coaxing us to enter a state of meditation, but directly through life. And so initially, what do we experience? Perturbance. Oh my God, I can't get my mind to stop talking. I'm trying to breathe and focus on my mantra or focus on my breath, or my tongue is on the roof of my mouth. I'm on the third eye. I'm visualizing blue. I can't seem to do it. You're right. It cannot be done. So what's interesting now, maybe for the first time for all of us, except when we were infants and we don't remember, we're actually experiencing being human beings rather than human doings. And it's absolutely profound. And then there's some other things that are amazing.
Hang on, Jacob. Even if you're in the being spun around and the worry and the frantic, with all of this going on, is that experience also human being rather than human doing?
We can't do anything about that. And so that's that spinning around is what goes on in the agitation state. And then we go into the spin cycle. The spin cycle is interesting. If you've ever seen a top spin or a dreidel or something that's spinning, it reaches centrifugal force and everything starts flying away from it. Everything that we believe in, everything that we have held on to as true, is unglued and flying away from us. And so if you're spinning fast enough, all of your clothing will fly off of you and you will end up naked, natural, without any protection. And then you get a chance to see, well, what happens in that state? You know, people have been watching the political scene for a while where the Democratic Party has been having these primaries and these debates. And they all agree on one thing: the existential threat to the planet is climate change. I will bet you that this period where planes are flying much less, where ocean liners are out of the ocean, where factories are closed down, where people are not driving their cars, and on and on and on and on and on and on. I will bet you that this short period of time has made a more significant dent in climate change than everything that we've attempted to do. What does that tell you? excuse my expression, holy shit, the intelligence of life. What's going on here that's created this? And then you've got all of these different takes on it. One person says, everybody's going to die. The other person says, oh, this was created in a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Oh, this is this conspiracy. Oh, this is this. Oh, it's only affecting older people. Regardless of any of that, it doesn't make any difference what the causative factor is. The impact is that it has stopped the planet in its tracks. Not the planet itself, but all the inhabitants of the planet in human form. The other species are having the day of their life. The birds are singing. There's so much going on. The humans, ooh, we're going through the freak out state right now, hoping that things get back to the status quo. But when they get back to the status quo, they'll say, oh my God, everything looks better on the other side of the fence. So I guess what I'm saying is this is an incredible moment in time, a moment that is more frightening than anything we've experienced, and a moment that has more possibility than anything we've ever experienced. And those two are seamlessly married into oneness. And in fact, this exaggerated view of both of those dualities is in fact what's going on all the time, except we're just seeing it in a way we've never seen it. People are always being born. People are always dying. People are always going from one place to the next. Most people are in one end of total trepidation or paralysis, or the other end of denial and conspiracy theories. This is a moment to make sure that you're driving your car in the middle of the lane, that you're not too close to the pedestrians on the sidewalk or not too close to the midline where the other drivers will start beeping at you. This is an opportunity to live in the middle, to live in the question. Living in the middle? Mm. That is the most, that is the state of our maximum potential. So what you call enlightenment is living in the middle, always in a heightened state of awareness, awaiting our next orders. And as we await, we notice that the orders come by themselves, and the response to the order also comes by itself. There is nothing to do. And that's what's so magnificent about this time, even though it will take us through every gamut of our feelings and emotions and fears and trepidation and ecstasy and God knows what.
Good God. Well, I really love what you said, Jacob, and I hope the honeybees come back in this time.
Oh, there's no question. Everything is coming back right now. This is what this is about. This is Mother Nature's way of inviting everything that's been hibernating to awaken. This is the spring. This is when stuff just comes out of the ground. So what better way than to make this a time where Nobody's walking on the ground. And so everything underneath can just go up toward the light of the sun.
Almost like a systemic restart.
This is the default setting of the planet. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Huge, huge, huge love.
You know what? Your mom and dad did a great job.
I'll tell them.
Tell them I said so.
I will.
Tell them I said so, because a smile like that, it is something in your genes.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
I hope this helps a lot of people. And I love what you said about the spin cycle, the reboot. There were a few other things you said that really, I loved what you said about how this is actually, this sort of polarity is actually happening all the time.
All the time.
We're allowed to notice it. I mean, we're not allowed to. We're just, our noticing of it is enhanced.
Right. Yeah. Our field of awareness is being opened to levels that we have not experienced. See, everything we're looking for, the reason all of our trying usually doesn't actually get us to what we're looking for is because what we're looking for is just outside our field of awareness. So when we see it, we don't notice it. And when other people mention it, we say, oh, that's ridiculous. This is opening up our field of vision, our field of awareness at levels that we have not experienced in a very, very, very long time. And wow, the sounds of silence are so powerful. It causes the heart to open and the heart even to cry a little bit. Not because of pain, but as a way of saying, thank God I'm home.
On that note, thank God we're home.
Yeah. Have a very sweet day.
And you.
All right. Mwah.